Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today, I'm gonna revisit how to beat each and every single VR boss in the game. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, these, let's say, guides are going to be focused around beating step 100. But at the same time, the tips are gonna work on any level. So you just need to beat 100 the right stats, honestly. Any strategy that you can devise is gonna work, but the best thing to do is to use balanced strategies so that you have damage, HP recovery, and damage reduction. With all those together, you will be able to beat any stage. And while I say these guides are for step 100, I'm gonna be doing them on step 200 because my account is pretty stacked. So yeah, to compensate for the awakening, the fact that I have a ton of awakening max out, which not all of them are gonna be super impactful, only the ones that give you damage increase and damage reduction. Uh, well, I'm going to do this on step 200. Now, another aspect of this is that we're gonna do F2P builds because we want everyone to do this as F2P as possible so that you don't have to worry about getting limited supporters, limited weapons. So yeah, I might use limited gear, but on the subslot where it's just a bit stick. It's only the stats. So, and just so that you know, you get better stats out of PvP weapons rather than limited gear on the sub weapon. So yeah, we're gonna start with Queen Kanaloa. Queen Kanaloa is a very bulky enemy. It's very small. It's very slow, and it summons minions. Both the minions and Queen Kanaloa are gonna have a buff that provides them with either immunity to melee attacks or range attacks. Queen Canaloa is going to activate these on intervals, and the minions are going to be able to activate, well, they are summoned with the buff itself, and it does not go away, just so that you know. So, not only that, the minions apply different debuffs like electrocute, slow, and so on. So, that's pretty annoying. But fortunately, we can manage despite that if we have a balanced team and a good attacker. So, what do you want against Queen Canaloa? Preferably against Queen Canaloa, what you want to use is Oboro. Oboro is one of the best options against Queen Canaloa. She's on red, well, on any color, but red is the best. She's able to inflict mind control. Mind control is basically a 100% speed reduction, and that means the enemy is going to stay in place. Pretty useful, pretty good. By equipping red supporters and having Wicked Slasher, Hypnosis Seal, and those two skills. No, there was nothing else. But you can equip Blooming Carnage. That's a speed reduction. It's not the same, but it pairs well with this. With these three skills, you're gonna be able to stop the enemy on his tracks, and it's super useful. Since these enemies are pretty bulky, well, Queen Canaloa herself, and there's gonna be mobs, you like to use big AoEs. Things like Astaroth's, what's the name? Hellblaze. The bigger the AoE, the better. And of course, you want these big AoEs to deal damage or provide some kind of benefit, like Phantasma's. Phantasma's Succubus Whisper is actually pretty useful. What else can you use if you don't have mind control? Well, basically speed reduction. There's a good amount of characters who can provide a speed reduction, reliable speed reduction, like Murasaki, for example. We have also Anna Rose, Green Murasaki, Green Anna Rose. There's Shizuru can both heal, um, provide the speed reduction, provide buffs. Let's see, provide defense reduction depending on the color. If you go blue, it's speed reduction. If it's red, it's defense reduction. But paired with the healing, it's pretty good. So there's plenty of options. Just know that you want healing and a speed reduction, preferably. Those are the buffs that are going to allow you to just avoid most of the attacks and keep the enemy under control. If you can add a Momochi weapon to the mix, or a way to reduce defense, that's also nice because you increase the damage, but that's not exactly a priority right now. So, another condition, since we're going F2P, I'm only using one formation for all the builds, and it's always going to be the name of Fuma. Why the name of Fuma? Because it's a 20% damage reduction against bosses. It's pretty good, pretty useful. Kinda F2P because all of these are permanent supporters, and one of these is an SR. If you want to change this for something else, it's fine, honestly, but I do recommend damage reduction. The Library Girls is good, but we have Shisui here. You'll need to get your first copy of this one, which is kind of expensive. But if not, get, I don't know, X Nisha 8 or something else. Whatever that benefits your strategy is good enough. Oh, how did it change? I didn't do that. Let's do that again. How? Okay, that was weird. Glitchy and weird. So, anyways, let's check the build. We're gonna check two kinds of builds, or well, teams, to deal with this stage. So in this case, we're using Phantasma. Phantasma is gonna be our control supporter. Instead of Oboro, I'm using Phantasma because she provides damage increase, defense reduction, and also the main debuff, which is gonna be speed reduction. I'm gonna use the Viridian weapon, 5 out of 5 plus 13, whatever weapon on the subslot, 5 out of 5 plus 15, and anti-demon Magatamas. Remember, guys, you want to work on your Magatamas. You want to make them perfect if at all possible. That takes a lot of time, but it's worth it for VR and high challenging content. If you're midway through the game, like in the mid game, dealing with events and you're just starting to tackle VR, don't worry, you will get there, but just work on it little by little. Just find whenever we have discounts. Now, for the next one, the skills: Impaling Terror, Slash Horror, and Succubus Whisper. Slash Horror and Impaling Terror are going to provide a speed reduction on the enemy, and Succubus Whisper is going to apply an AoE, a big AoE that is going to help us with the waves of enemies, and it's going to deal continuous damage, and it's going to buff the characters in that AoE, which is why we use this skill. Then we have Sakuya over here, we have Maika, and we have Akina. So I limit myself a little bit. I'm trying not to use multiple copies of supporters. Maybe I'll use one extra copy or something like that. Depends on the kind of enemy and the build that I'm doing. But remember, I am limiting myself to using F2P supporters. You can use whatever you want. You can use limited ones. You can use permanent ones. You can use the seasonal ones. Whichever you get, use them. So we have a 30% damage reduction with Sakuya, and the active is going to further slow the enemy. That's why we use this one on a 41 second cooldown. That's pretty good. Then we have Maika. I originally put Onigumo or Arabella on this one, but then I say no, not multiple copies. The less multiple copies I have, the better. So instead, I'm using Maika because I'm going to constantly debuff the enemy. That's no problem. Akina is here for the survivability. Phantasma can become a good tank / off tank, but she really wants a lot of damage reduction. That's why I use Sakuya. A lot of HP. That's what this one is enchanted. These ones are 2, but not 2. It's fullest, or at least 13. And this is going to provide me HP recovery, which is super, super useful. Stats of the customs, stat training, and then, sorry, I'm still sick, so let's see. We have Lapis. Lapis is the generic healer that I'm going to be using here. We use Lapis because using right now Felicia against Queen Kanaloa is not that great of an option, since she has the invincibility, the melee or range invincibility buff. And Lapis is going to heal you more if we take that into consideration. So we want to use Lapis. You can use other healers, like for example the ones that summon an AoE healing area, Emily, Aina, or maybe Shizuru. But Lapis is probably the most reliable one. That's why. Now, for the weapons, we have a Viridian weapon on the subslot and an extra weapon on the main. Ice Magatamas, whatever Magatamas on the subslot, of course, Anti-Demon. Phantasma was using water because she's going melee technically. And let's see, we have gem support, piercing dash, and moral boost. All of these are going to provide healing or defense increase. That's why we use them. And then we have Lilim. Oh god. Arabella. And Nana. Well, I'm talking a lot. That's why I'm coughing. Lilim is also here not only because of the damage increase and the fact that we don't want to repeat supporters, but also because she also slows the enemies. The Arabella is another damage increase, and the Nana is the super useful damage reduction for protective characters that reaches 40% damage reduction. It is so good. Stats of the customs, stat training, and lastly we have our DPS, which is going to be a Spinel. So, thing here, I am going F2P, but perhaps this is not the best idea because I'm going triple blue on the supporters, on everyone. So, if you lack enough blue supporters, go with a different color for the main attacker. You can use whichever main attacker you want. I'm not using demonic synergies right now because I'm not using those kind of supporters. But as I mentioned, just ignore this main attacker if it's not what you need. But there's a reason why we go blue with this one. So, number one, I'm using the Wicked Star Canablade. Though it is difficult to get because you need the VR coins and it's gonna take some time, it is an F2P weapon. So we are going to take advantage of that. This provides a ton of damage increase and damage reduction against demons and enhances Demonic Arm Detonate. We're gonna use Anti-Demon Fire Magatamas. We're gonna use Crimson Greatsword, 5 out of 5 and plus 13 on the subslot, whatever Magatamas on the subslot. We're gonna use Demonic Arm Detonate, Piercing Thirst, and Crystal Shard Burst to super buff our character. And we have, well, another copy of Arabella. I really didn't want to use this, but if you can, use a permanent supporter instead. Like, that's going to be very, very useful. Or if you have limited ones, that's even better. Then, we have over here Onigumo, Arabella, and Heviko. We are using Heviko, even though she is permanent, because I'm not limiting myself to using permanent supporters, even though we go F2P, because you will be able to get them eventually. But I'm not going to abuse them. I'm just going to use one or two depending on the team and composition. And we really want to use Heviko. Why? Because she has the ability to remove buffs. The pay to win option is to use Core Phantasma. Core Phantasma, if you have her on the main, she's going to be able to remove the buffs from the enemies constantly. and that's super great against Queen's Kanaloa. But for F2P players, the best option is gonna be Heaviko. There's other things that remove buffs, but I mentioned just that this is the best F2P option. It's always in the pool. You're gonna get some copies of Heaviko eventually, and she's gonna be your reset bottom for Queen Kanaloa. Then, here are the stats of the customs, the stats of the skills, the stats of the stat training, and now let's do a run. Super simple, super easy. So maybe I'm not able to clear this within the minute, which is kind of normal, because I'm going balance. I'm not going hyper offensive because unfortunately we don't have enough F2P supporters to go hyper offensive with everyone, and even if we use all the offensive supporters, their numbers by comparison are not that great. That's why we I used the active. That's why we don't go hyper offensive with F2P supporters. There's some good options, like the Susune, of course. Susune is super great. We also have the amazing Kirara, Christmas, Holy Night Kirara, which it is kind of F2P. It's seasonal. It's one of those that are given to us through packs, and they are great, and they give us these more copies on campaigns and missions. But we don't have that many supporters that reach the 40% mark that are F2P. Usually they reach like 30, 32 nowadays. And while it is good, it is not okay. That I'm just going to use this. There. I remove that buff. And that's why we use the Heaviko to just eliminate those annoying invincibility melee buffs or range buff depending on your attacker. Did we? No, of course we didn't. Yeah, I was expecting that, but this is not a video about being able to clear it within the minute, but rather to be able to clear step 100. This is what you want to do when you are trying to beat 100. Going for the balance builds is going to be the most effective way to do so, because you need a lot of gems to roll on the gacha to go hyper offensive. Not to mention that you actually want a ton of awakening points to be able to go hyper offensive, because you do need the damage reduction of the awakening skills. So the other build is gonna be only humans, and we're using Maika, Tokiko, and Inage. Inage is just a supporter, a tank, basically. She's going to use an SR weapon, but honestly, it's not that great. If you have double PvP weapon, that's better. Then we have the PvP weapon, 5 out of 5, plus 15, plus 13. Again, Ice Magatamas, Anti-Demon, whatever Magatamas on the subslot. For the skills, Smoke Fan for the HP recovery. Smoke Cloud to apply a little bit of Fortitude. For those who do not know, Fortitude is a kind of, let's say, pseudo invincibility. It's percentage chance to ignore damage, basically. Instead of being full invincible, you have an X amount of chance to just ignore damage, which doesn't reach 100, just so that you know. Don't ever try to do that. And then we have Restoration Smoke. While Restoration Smoke is not that great for this team, we want as many sources of HP recovery as we want. And it also increases Fortitude, so we're gonna take advantage of that. Then we have over here Butler Asagi. Why Butler Asagi? We want this character to be tanky. We like the immunity to slow because the enemy provides different debuffs, and we want to take advantage of that. We're also going to take advantage of the speed increase. So this character becomes extremely tanky. Since we're blue, we're also using Nana, giving us that huge damage reduction. Lastly, Akina, just for consistency. But if you want to put something else like damage increase, I mean, I'm gonna put damage increase just cause. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna put one Arabella over here, and that's it. for a little bit more damage, because we can commit to that. Stats of the customs, stat training, and over here we have Tokiko. Tokiko is performing 2 roles. She's gonna be the healer and the buffer. For that, we're using Mechanical Dart. Mechanical Dart Knight is one of the best SR weapons in the game. Only can be used by Tokiko, and it's basically a Momochi weapon effect maxed out from the start, just by using normal attacks. It's super good. Then we have oh wow, 1 second. Okay, we have Narakusan. Narakusan is just a whatever weapon on the subslot to gain stats, both 5 or 5 and plus 15. We have the demonic anti-demon range Magatamas with whatever attack Magatamas on the subslot. We have over here Hummingbird for the speed reduction. We have Taimanin Blast for the defense reduction. We have Clairvoyance for further reduce the defense of the enemies. And you might be thinking, why did you mention that she's a healer? Well, because we have a plethora of supporters that enhance healing. We have over here Misaki. We have over here Yachio. And lastly, I'm using Igawa, White Knight Igawa Sagi. If you don't have this one, if you have any damage reduction that you can equip to this character, that's great. Hisui is not the best option because the mobs are actually strong. The best option would be to use Kirara, but it's limited, so we're not using that. Another viable option is both Yuna and Homarinao. But I don't like these two because they only give you damage increase and damage reduction when, well, this one damage reduction only, but this one damage increase and damage reduction when the enemy has a buff, and Queen Kanaloa, which is the one that deals the most damage, isn't always buffed. So even though this might work, I do not recommend them. The stage doesn't help us with this. So just add whatever supporter you can. If not, just go with damage increase. Generic damage increase using a Lydia Barretta will be more than enough. By just increasing the enchantment, you will be tanky enough, despite the lack of damage reduction. Then, stats of the customs, stat training, and lastly we have over here Maika. Maika is going to be using the PvP weapon, 5 out of 5 plus 13, whatever weapon on the subslot, 5 out of 5 plus 15, again anti-demon Magatamas with whatever attack Magatamas on the subslot. We have a red build with Death from Above, Ruthless Explosion, Carpet Bombing, the classic Maika build. Then, we're using Susune for healing, for snaring the enemy, and to abuse the debuffs that we're going to be afflicting the enemy with. We're also using Estella, and we're using Nino. Though, these supporters don't provide a huge damage increase. It's a nice damage increase, but it's not as big as I would like it to be. If you do have the Holy Kirara, equip that. If you have something better like a Fuyutsuki, equip that. But these are only 30% damage increase. This is actually pretty good, but the other two are kind of small. If you have something better, you can equip that. Or go with a different color, depending on your needs. Then, stats of the customs, stat training, and then, let's do this one. Again, we're using the name of Fuma, even though I maybe should change it, I'm not. Because we want this to be as F2P as possible, and that's one of the best F2P formations. So, I'm just gonna attack as much as I can, keeping the enemy occupied. And just do this. Unfortunately, as you can see, the characters are not receiving that much damage. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take advantage of the ultimate a lot. dealing with this enemy would be pretty difficult, if not for the ultimate, honestly. Because my damage is not that great. Oh, even so, the immunity. Why do I care about the ultimate? Because right now I'm not using a debuffer that can just strip away those buffs. Like in the case of what's the name? In the case of Heaviko supporter, she would be just keeping those debuffs away. But no, we are not using one of those. So I'll just have to do what I can. So now it's a good time to use the ultimate. And well, I'm gonna see if I can just, move Queen Kanaloa closer to the other characters. And I think I have the, what's the name? The ultimate off for the other characters, but I don't want to change characters just so that I activate their ultimates. It doesn't really matter. The idea is to deal with the enemy with the main attacker. Ooh, nice. In this moment it has the immunity, so nice. I'm just doing this and done. Pretty nice, pretty good. And we dealt with the enemy. Did we do it within a minute? I don't think so. I didn't check. But let's do that again. For those who would like to go hyper offensive, there's an option. We're gonna remove this and instead we're gonna add Lamarck over here. And what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to use, two things. 1, 2, and now I'm gonna change to a different attacker. It's going to be, where is she? Okay, blue and human. It's gonna be Sora. So Sora is one of the strongest attackers in the game right now. There's plenty strong attackers right now, but Sora marked the change in the meta, in the pacing of how strong a character must be. And well, many of you may have already grabbed 1 or 2 copies of her renewal weapon, so if that's the case, we're gonna take advantage of this character. Not only because she is one of the best damage dealer. Oh, wait. I'm gonna change this. Maybe you have it, but I'm gonna assume that I use suboptimal equipment. This is going to increase my particle charge, and that's a good enough effect. So let's go with that, and let's go with this. And now, for the skills, we're gonna use Celestial Fox. We use God's Maw because this is the critical rate. The base damage is already pretty good. And we're gonna use Chosen. So, what do you want to equip? If you need the extra healing, put Misaki on the main. And then you have options. Basically, on red, we want to use a copy of Susune. And on blue, you can use either Arabella or Onigumo, depending on what you have. With this, you have a rainbow composition of the most aggressive F2P supporters. If you can go rainbow, this is kind of the best combination of supporters that you can get for damage increase on F2P supporters. But the issue with this combination is that a rainbow combination, not that many characters have great attacks. Not many of the best attackers in the games have great rainbow attacks. Fortunately, Sora is one of the best attackers, and she does have an excellent rainbow attack in the form of Celestial Fox. So we are gonna take advantage of that. Stats of the customs, stat training, the weapons I already mentioned, 5 out of 5 plus 15 plus 13, anti-demon Magatamas, the skills, yeah, everything. Done. And again, the name of Uma. We're not changing that. Sorry about being a little bit sick yet. I'm getting better, but I still have cough. And the more I speak, oh my god. the more I cough. Let's just yeah, I forgot about this skill actually. One thing, you could use Yukina, probably. If you have Yukina, use Yukina. That's a very good option. Oof. Okay, I'm just gonna use this and Chosen, and then I'm gonna use the ultimate. Pretty good. And there. Arrows. Oh, it has the immunity. Well, it is what it is. That's the issue about not having the invincibility remove supporters or weapons. There's a couple weapons that remove buff. If you want to know, the F2P option is Inage's. Inage's weapon. No, not Inage, sorry. Lance. Lance ultimate weapon has the ability to remove buffs. And it's actually pretty decent for the most part because it's going to help you out with VR. It gives you more damage against bosses and damage reduction against bosses, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. We can check it right now. So, if you want to know, the decisive weapon for Felicia is also going to give you that over here. If we go to the very end, I don't see the characters. They changed that. Over here. Increase damage by 14% against enemies inflicted with... no, this is not it. Yeah, this one. Increase damage dealt to bosses by 12% and reduce damage taken by 12%, up to 24%. Pretty decent for VR, actually, so you may want to use it. But more importantly, on 3 particles, the active is going to deal damage and remove 2 types of buffs from the enemy. So you can just abuse this to eliminate Queen Kanaloa. So land is a pretty decent option if you have that weapon. Not to mention it's a pretty good weapon for VR. So if you were to build LAN, what would I recommend? Because I guess we're on the topic. Let's see. We have LAN over here. And the issue is LAN is not the greatest character. But let's see. Where is her HP recovery? It's on green. I would recommend... Oh, but green is just this. Let's see. Decrease the enemy's defense. I would recommend green supportive LAN. Yeah, with Quicksand Ant Lion Pit, with Blinding Barrage, and with Storm Formation, along with the what's the name? With the weapon, which I don't have. So, how would you build land? Just so that you know, you would have to make her tanky and probably a pseudo healer similar to the Tokiko that I'm using right now. You can put Yachi on her, you can put Misaki on the main, and just whatever other damage increase or damage reduction. Maybe Kotone, no, because we are using range attacks actually. This is a range attack, this is a supportive, and this is both. Not Kotone exactly. Well, a good Torajiro is more than enough in this case, or maybe Lydia Vareta, depending on what you have. Even Mitsuki, which we're getting, if I'm not mistaken, they are rerunning her, I think. So, yeah, that's pretty good. You can use LAN, but the thing is, if you use LAN, as I just mentioned, you probably want to pilot LAN, and you would be piloting a supportive character. As such, the best option for a damage dealer is a range attacker. Someone like Micah would be good, but with LAN, with supportive LAN that you pilot just to strip the buffs. What other options do you have if you don't have Micah? Let's see. Range attackers with good AoE and damage. Astaroth could be an option, depending on the color. The thing is, it's not like really smart, the AI with Astaroth. It's better with Micah. You could go with Aina, but only if you're a main with Aina. Honestly, It's a really good character, but only if you build her super well. Or you could go with Momochi. Momochi's someone who can just destroy enemies. And even though she's melee, she has a lot of potential to deal with uh, multiple enemies, with waves of enemies. And she just needs to be a little bit tanky and add healing. But still, the best option would be to go with Micah. So, anyways, guys, that's about it for today. I hope you find this useful and let me know in the comments if this helps you out, if you are able to clear step 100 with this. And remember, work little by little on everything. Every bit counts. Your weapon S level, your enchantment, your awakenings, your character levels, everything counts. It's not just one little detail. Work in everything little by little and prioritize Magatamas because that's the easiest one you can just advance throughout the month or the weeks. So, anyways, that's it for today, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.